Welcome back to the Sage Audio channel. Today we'll compare two mastering chains, each with 6 inserts that perform the same tasks, to see what sets a free and pro mastering chain apart. We'll discuss each plugin used, detail what we're using that plugin for, and listen to each step on a stereo mix. We'll try to make sure that everything is as consistent as possible so you can get a good comparison of the software that's being used. Also, we'll refrain from offering any opinions on which chain we think sounded better and leave it up to you to determine what worked well and what didn't. So, if you could, like, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for the full video. But first, if you're an artist, engineer, or producer, and you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com. We'll master it for you and send you a free mastered sample of it. All you have to do is set up an account, upload the song, and we do the rest. The first insert is the M equalizer versus the Pro Q3. Our first insert is going to be an equalizer for subtractive equalization, meaning we'll attenuate aspects of the frequency spectrum that we don't like. This way, unwanted frequencies aren't amplified by subsequent processing. To start, we'll cut the side image of the signal to make the low end mono. Both the M equalizer and Pro Q3 are capable of doing this. With the M equalizer, it's a little more convoluted and includes changing the overall routing to mid and side, but it's not too complex. Next, we'll attenuate some more aspects of the response until we feel that we've achieved a balanced sound that can be amplified later on without causing issues. For our example, we'll make sure that these bands are the same value, frequency, and attenuate the same amount in dB so that we can get as good of a comparison as possible. Now, one thing that the Pro Q3 can do that the M equalizer cannot is use natural and linear phase, which is very useful when mastering. Additionally, the Pro Q3 has dynamic equalization functionality, which we won't use here, but can be helpful if the situation calls for it. Let's listen to these two equalizers using the same settings. For the second insert, we're going to use Tube Amp by Voxengo versus the Saturn II by FabFilter. Unlike the previous EQ example, the two plugins that we're using here are radically different. Whereas the Tube Amp has a few settings, Saturn II allows you to create complex saturation in which frequencies can be separated and certain functions can be made contingent on other functions. That said, there's a lot more that you can accomplish with the Saturn II than the Tube Amp. We'll dial in our Tube Amp settings to achieve moderate but not too noticeable saturation and distortion. This will create some harmonics to fill out the signal. And we'll use a modified preset of the Saturn II, which links multiple functions and creates realistically dynamic distortion. That said, we can't match up these two saturators entirely since the functionality is so different, but we can make sure that the output has the same amplitude and try to achieve similar amounts of distortion and compression. Let's take a listen to it. Insert 3 is the OTT versus the inflator. OTT is a multiband compressor, but it also allows for low-level compression. This is similar to the functionality of the Sonix Oxford inflator, which increases the level and perceivability of quieter aspects of the signal. Now we'll use the OTT just for low-level compression in this example to boost quieter aspects of the mix into the more forward and perceivable territory. Now we'll match the depth function value to that of the effect percentage value to achieve similar levels of upward compression. Additionally, we'll alter the time value of the OTT to try and achieve a similar attack and release to the inflator. Since the inflator has the option, let's increase the curve to make the signal sound a little warmer and make the processing split band to better emulate the multi-band processing performed by OTT. Let's take a listen to it. Insert number 4 is the Rare SE versus TubeTech Equalizers Mark II. Rare SE and the TubeTech Equalizers Mark II are very similar plugins. The main difference is that the curves used by the TubeTech Equalizer are more true to the Pultec Equalizer on which it's modeled. However, this doesn't make it better, just slightly different. Now, one advantage that Rare SE has is its ability to introduce mid-side processing, meaning you can affect your stereo image by increasing the output of either the mid or side channel. Additionally, you'll get a little more control of certain frequencies. For example, if I switch Rare SE to mid-side, I can boost the kick on the mid instead of boosting both the mid and side image like I'd have to do with the Softube emulation. So again, similar plugins with small differences that can have a big impact on your master if they're utilized properly. Let's listen to them both with similar settings. Insert number 5 is limiter number 6 versus Elevate. Here we have two limiters capable of multi-band limiting and clipping. Additionally, Elevate has transient shaping functionality, which can really give it an advantage. Now, whereas limiter number 6 can break the limiting up into 2 channels, Elevate has the ability to break the limiting up into 26 channels, each potentially independent of one another. This makes limiting a lot less noticeable since the ceiling isn't constantly being hit. The clipper section is actually a little more complex in the limiter number 6 since it allows for upsampling and for the measurement of the incoming signal to be stereo, mid and side, or multiband, which is something that you don't see too often in a clipper. We'll avoid the compressor in limiter number 6 and introduce multiband limiting on both plugins. We'll also use the clipper for both and the transient shaper for Elevate, but at a lower level. For the output, we'll lower it to -0.5 dB and keep true peak detection off on both. Lastly, I'll use 4 times oversampling on limiter number 6 since it's offered. Let's take a listen to it. Insert number 6 is Loudmax versus Pro L2. Last up, we have 2 great limiters. Loudmax is simple and straightforward with a threshold and output. The attenuation is shown on the right, the channels can be linked, and inner sample peaking detection can be enabled. The Pro L2, on the other hand, lets you control the attack and release, the attenuation linking of the left and right channels, introduce oversampling, and change the style of the limiting. I'll keep the style to the modern setting, which has very low distortion, similar to the default of the Loudmax limiter. I'll use oversampling on the FabFilter since it's offered, and lower the ceiling of both to -1 dB. Additionally, we'll achieve very similar amounts of attenuation and measure the output in LUFS to ensure that they're as close as they can be. Let's take a listen to it. Last up, let's listen to examples of both of the fully processed masters to get a good A/B of the two. So these are our thoughts on a free mastering chain versus a pro chain, but what do you think? Did you prefer one over the other, and were you at all surprised by the results? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you're an artist or an engineer, send us one of your mixes at sageaudio.com. We'll master it for you and send you a free mastered sample of it. All you have to do is set up an account, upload the song, and we'll do the rest. But thank you so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share this video with your friends. This way we know if you'd like to see more videos like this one. Also, you can subscribe to the channel. We release new videos every week, and subscribing is the best way to stay up to date. There's a comment section where you can leave your thoughts on this video, or you can make a suggestion for a future video. And again, if you're an artist or an engineer and you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us at sageaudio.com. We'll master it for you and send you a free mastered sample. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.